The awakening, it was dark and cold. The air smelled like metal and smoke. Somewhere deep under the surface of a forgotten planet, a girl opened her eyes. Her name was Lyra, but she did not remember it yet. All she felt was pain, fear, and confusion. She was lying on a metal table, her skin pale and cold. Flickering lights above her blinked slowly, like they were dying. Machines around her were broken. Wires hung from the ceiling like vines. She tried to sit up, but her body was weak. Her hands were shaking, her head spinning. Something felt wrong inside her. Then she looked down. Her stomach was swollen round, tight and heavy. She was pregnant. Lyra gasped, her mouth dry. Tears filled her eyes. But she didn't even know why. She didn't remember getting pregnant. She didn't remember anything. Suddenly, she heard a sound, a metal clang. Somewhere far in the dark hallway outside the room, she froze, her heart beating fast. Someone or something was out there. Lyra searched the room for a weapon, but there was nothing useful. She grabbed a metal rod from the floor and slowly stood up. Her legs were shaking, but she had to move. She couldn't stay here. The machines beeped weakly behind her as she limped toward the door. It was half open, and beyond it, only darkness waited. She stepped into the hallway. One slow step at a time, the walls were covered in black marks, scratches like claws. Lights flickered above her, showing broken glass and dried blood on the floor. She followed the hall, hoping to find an exit, a map, or anyone. But every room she checked was empty. Empty chairs, broken screens, shattered glass. This place had been dead for a long time. Still, something told her she was not alone. Then she found a control room. One of the screens was still working, glowing faint blue. Lyra sat down and touched the panel. Her fingers moved. On their own, like muscle memory, she typed in a command without knowing what it meant. A small camera feed popped up, showing a dark, ruined lab. She saw something move in the corner, too fast to see clearly, but it was big and alive. Lyra took a deep breath, trying not to scream. She needed help, and fast. She looked at the panel again and saw something blinking. Emergency signal. She pressed it, and a short message box appeared. With shaking hands, she typed, "Help me. I'm underground. I'm not human. I'm pregnant, and something is here." She pressed send. And the signal left into the stars, thousands of light years away. On Earth, a young technician named Aaron was working late in a satellite lab. He yawned, drinking cold coffee, bored and tired. Suddenly, his screen blinked. A strange message appeared in red. Incoming transmission. He clicked it, expecting a system bug or maybe a prank. But what he saw made him drop his cup. It was a video, blurry but real. A pale alien girl with glowing eyes looked into the camera, whispering, "Please help me." Then the screen went black. Aaron stared at the monitor, frozen. Was this real? He checked the data. The signal was from a dead zone, a part of space where no messages ever came from. He replayed the video, this time recording it. He knew nobody would believe him without proof. Meanwhile, Lyra waited in silence, staring at the panel. She didn't know if anyone had heard her, but she had done all she could. Suddenly, the lights shut off, total darkness. She held her breath, her rod tight in her hands. She heard something breathing behind her, slow and heavy. Her blood ran cold. Whatever had done this to her was close, too close. Then came the sound of claws scraping metal. Lyra ran as fast as her weak legs could move. She didn't look back. She didn't have to. She knew it was real. And it was hunting her. The signal. Aaron was not supposed to be at work that night. His shift ended 2 hours ago, but he stayed back to finish a system scan. He was the quiet type, a young satellite technician working at a small space monitoring station outside the city. The night was cold, the lab was empty, and only the soft hum of machines filled the silence. Aaron yawned and leaned back in his chair, sipping his third cup of coffee. Just as he was about to turn off his console, his screen blinked. A red light flashed, and a message appeared. Incoming transmission. He clicked on the message, expecting an error or maybe a test signal, but instead, a short video started playing. On the screen was a pale girl, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. She looked scared and tired. Her voice was soft, almost broken. "Please help me. I'm underground. I'm not human. I'm pregnant. Something is coming." Then the screen turned black. Aaron froze, his heart beating fast. He had never seen anything like this before. He quickly checked the coordinates. The signal came from a part of space called Sector Z14, a dead zone, no colony, no station. Nothing was supposed to be there. Aaron replayed the message again, recording it on his device. "This can't be real," he whispered, but deep inside, he knew it was. He ran a system trace, looking for any other logs, any data. The signal was real, the time was logged, and the source was clear somewhere far from Earth. But not impossible to reach. He thought about reporting it, but who would believe him? A scared alien girl asking for help, a secret underground base, a monster. Aaron opened his secure line and called his friend Maya. She worked at a private aerospace agency and was one of the few people he trusted. She answered the call with a sleepy voice. "Aaron, it's 3 a.m. What happened?" "You need to see this," he said, and sent her the video. There was silence for a few seconds. Then Maya spoke again, now wide awake. "Where did you get this?" "It came through my system, an emergency beacon from a dead zone." Maya was quiet, then said, "I'll check our records, but don't do anything stupid." But Aaron had already made up his mind. He couldn't just sit here, not after what he saw. He pulled up old maps and secret satellite images of Sector Z14. Hidden deep in the data was a tiny data-forgotten moon near a gas giant. Marked as abandoned research site, Aaron knew what he had to do. He had access to an old shuttle at the station. Unused for years, kept only for emergencies. He started preparing a flight plan, downloading navigation files, fuel data, and survival gear lists. Meanwhile, on the alien moon, Lyra sat in the dark, cold, and shaking. She didn't know if her message had reached anyone. She held her stomach, feeling the strange child move inside her. Was it hers? Was it human? Was it even alive? The air in the base was getting thinner, the power almost gone. But worst of all, she could hear it, the monster. Moving in the tunnels, scratching the walls, sniffing the air, it was hunting her, slow and patient. Lyra found a small maintenance room and locked herself inside. She cried quietly, whispering, "Please come. Please find me." Back on Earth, Maya called Aaron again. This time in a panic, Aaron. "I checked the database. That place was real," she said. "It was a secret research base, shut down 20 years ago. No one talks about it. They erased the whole thing." "Why?" Aaron asked. "No idea. But if that girl is there, and she's pregnant, something went very wrong." Aaron packed his bag, locked the lab, and walked to the launch hangar. The sky above was full of stars. Silent and watching, he stood before the shuttle, nervous but ready, whatever was waiting for him out there. He had to face it. He couldn't ignore her call, because no one else had heard her, and maybe he was the only one who could save her. The monster within Lyra couldn't sleep, even if she tried. The pain inside her body wouldn't let her rest. She was curled up in a dark corner of the small maintenance room, her back against the cold wall. The air smelled of oil, rust, and something rotten. Her hands touched her swollen belly gently. Feeling a soft movement inside, she was scared of what was growing there. It was alive, but it was not human, and it was not like her either. She tried to remember how this happened, but her mind was like broken glass, full of sharp missing pieces. Her memories came only in flashes, bright lights, metal tools, cold hands, and screams. Sometimes she saw red eyes staring at her in the dark. Sometimes she felt claws touching her skin. She didn't know if those were memories or nightmares, but one thing was clear: this was no normal pregnancy. Something had been done to her. She was a test subject, trapped and used. Lyra gritted her teeth and stood up slowly, her legs weak. She needed to move, to escape, to find a way out before it was too late. She opened the door quietly and looked down the hallway. It was empty for now, but she knew it was still out there, the monster. It was the only other living thing in this underground base, and it didn't want her to leave. Meanwhile, far above in space, Aaron's shuttle left Earth's orbit. His hands gripped the controls tightly as the stars passed by the window. He had never gone this far before. This wasn't a mission, it was a choice to help someone no one else believed in. The shuttle's computer beeped as he entered. Deep space, moving toward the hidden moon shown in the old records. Aaron kept replaying the message in his mind, Lyra's soft voice calling for help. There was something about her face, her eyes, that he couldn't forget. She wasn't just an alien. She was afraid, alone, and trapped, And now, she might be dying back on the moon. Lyra walked through the broken halls, her ears sharp, listening. For every sound, she passed shattered glass tanks filled with dark liquid, some still holding broken bones or strange shapes. Whatever this place was, it had once been a lava lab for something evil. Suddenly, she heard a growl, low and deep, echoing through the hallway. She turned around, breathing fast, then she saw it, a shadow, crawling on the ceiling. Large and fast, it had sharp claws and long arms, its skin black like smoke, its eyes glowed. Red in the dark, Lyra screamed and ran, her body heavy but her will strong. She turned corners, past old doors, and finally found a locked chamber. She used her code to open it just in time, slamming the door shut behind her. The monster slammed into it a second later. Roaring in anger, she backed away, crying, her breath shaking. It was the same creature from her dreams. From her lost memories, it was the thing that made her like this. And now, it wanted her back. Inside the chamber, Lyra found something strange. A wall full of screens, files, and voice logs untouched for years. She played the logs one by one, hoping. To find answers, she heard scientists speaking, their voices cold and calm. Subject 6 responds well to genetic blending. One voice said, "The hybrid is stable." Another added. Lyra's hands trembled as she listened. She was Subject 6. They had used her DNA and something else, something not from this galaxy. They forced her body to carry the result. A hybrid child, part alien, part monster. Her child. She dropped to her knees, whispering to herself, "I didn't choose this. I didn't want this." But then, she felt it move again. Not in pain, not in fear. The movement was calm. Soft, like it was listening. Maybe, just maybe, this child was not like the monster. Maybe it was something else, something better. She looked up, hope and fear mixing in her eyes. Outside the base, Aaron's shuttle entered orbit around the moon. He looked out at the cold, dark surface. "Hang on," he whispered. "I'm coming." And down below, Lyra looked at the door. Hearing the monster scratch and growl, she held her stomach tightly. For the first time, she didn't feel like just a victim. She was a mother now, and she would fight. The Besaran's shuttle landed on the dusty surface of the forgotten moon. The sky above him was dark and silent, filled with stars that did not blink. His boots touched the ground, and a small cloud of gray dust rose around him. The place felt dead, but not empty. Aaron looked around and saw the old research base half buried. In the rock, its walls were rusted, and the outer door was broken. Something had forced it open, something strong. He stepped inside carefully. Holding his flashlight in one hand and a scanner in the other, the air was thin but breathable. The gravity low. The moment he crossed the doorway, the temperature dropped. It was cold and silent inside. Like a tomb, Aaron walked through the first hallway, his footsteps echoing around him. Broken machines, fallen pipes, and dried blood covered the floor. He checked his scanner. It picked up movement deep inside the structure. Very faint, but real. "Lyra," he whispered. "I hope that's you." Somewhere far below, Lyra was awake, holding her breath. She sat beside the locked door, her hands wrapped around her belly. The monster had stopped banging hours ago, but she knew it was still close. It was waiting, watching, hunting. Then, she heard a new sound: footsteps, slow and careful. She tensed up, her body ready to run or fight. But these steps were different, heavier, human. She stood up and moved toward the hallway, holding a metal rod tightly. Aaron turned a corner and saw a shadow move. He raised his flashlight quickly, ready to defend himself. But then he froze. Standing in front of him was Lyra, her face pale, her eyes glowing softly in the light. She looked tired but strong. "Aaron," she said, her voice low. He blinked in shock. "You know my name." "I saw your badge," she replied, nodding at his jacket. Aaron took a step closer, his voice softer. "Are you okay?" Lyra hesitated, then shook her head. "No, but I'm alive." They stared at each other for a moment, human and alien, stranger and savior. Then Lyra whispered, "It's still here. The creature. The thing that did this to me." Aaron's eyes widened. "What is it?" "I don't know," she said, "but it's fast, smart, and angry." Aaron looked around and saw the broken walls, the blood, the wires hanging like vines. This base wasn't just abandoned, it was destroyed. Let's get you out of here," he said. Helping her walk, they moved together through the hallways, back toward the surface. But Lyra stopped suddenly. "Wait, I need to show you something." She led him to the chamber with the screens and voice logs. Aaron looked at the files, his hands shaking as he played them. He heard scientists talking about experiments, gene mixing, and test subjects. One voice said, "The hybrid will change everything. It's the future." Aaron looked at Lyra. "They made you carry it." Lyra nodded. "They wanted to create something powerful, something better than human or alien." "And the monster?" Aaron asked. "It was the first test," she replied. "It escaped and killed them all." Aaron clenched his fists. "We can't leave it alive." Suddenly, the lights flickered and the floor shook. A loud roar echoed through the base. "Closer than before. It knows we're together," Lyra said, her voice trembling. "It's coming." Aaron grabbed her hand. "We have to move now." They ran through the dark halls, Aaron leading the way, flashlight swinging with each step. Behind them, the monster roared again, the sound bouncing off the walls like thunder. They reached the exit, but a heavy gate had closed, trapping them inside. Aaron looked at the control panel. No power. He opened his bag and pulled out a small battery unit, connecting it quickly. Just a few seconds, he whispered. Lyra stood in front of him, holding the rod tightly, ready to fight. The sound of claws scraping metal grew louder. Closer then, the panel blinked green, and the gate opened with a hiss. "Go," Aaron shouted, pushing Lyra forward. They rushed out into the cold night. The monster right behind them, Aaron turned and threw a flare into the hallway, blinding the creature for a moment. They reached the shuttle and climbed inside. Slamming the hatch shut, Aaron fired up the engines, and the ship lifted into the sky. As they rose, they looked down at the base one last time. It stood in silence again, but deep inside, the monster still moved. Back inside the shuttle, Lyra leaned against the wall. Exhausted, she looked at Aaron. "Thank you," he nodded. "We're not safe yet. But we're not alone anymore." And above the stars, the ship carried them away from the nightmare below. The encounter, the shuttle flew silently through space, leaving the dead moon behind. Inside, Lyra sat quietly, her back against the wall, her eyes half closed. She looked tired, but she wasn't asleep. Aaron sat in the pilot seat, checking the ship's controls and scanning for any danger. The engines hummed softly, and the stars outside moved slowly past the windows. Lyra touched her belly gently, feeling the baby move again. It was growing fast, too fast. Every hour she could feel the change. She looked at Aaron and asked, "How long until we reach Earth?" Aaron glanced back. 2 days, maybe less, if we push the engines." Lyra nodded, but her face showed worry. She had never been to Earth, and she didn't know if she would be welcome there. Would humans fear her, hate her, lock her away? Aaron seemed kind, but he was only one man, and the child she carried was not normal. It was something else, something new. She closed her eyes and tried to rest, but her mind wouldn't stop. Then the pain hit her, sharp and deep. She gasped, holding her stomach as the pressure inside grew stronger. Aaron jumped up and rushed to her side. "Lyra, what's wrong?" She breathed heavily. "It's moving more than before. It's like it's trying to get out." Aaron helped her lie down, placing a pillow under her head. "Just hold on," he said. "I'll get the med kit." But before he could move, the lights flickered. The hum of the engine turned into a high-pitched whine. Then a loud bang echoed through the ship. An alarm began to ring, red lights flashing everywhere. Aaron ran to the control panel, his heart pounding. The screen showed a warning. "Unknown life form detected inside ship." He froze. No, that's not possible. He checked the cargo bay camera, and what he saw made his blood run cold. The monster, the same one from the base, was inside. It had somehow hidden in the ship before launch. It crouched in the dark, its red eyes glowing, claws tapping the metal floor slowly. Aaron grabbed a weapon from the emergency locker, a shock rifle, and turned to Lyra. "It's here," he said. "The monster is in the cargo bay." Lyra's face went pale. "It followed us." Aaron nodded. "I'll stop." Stay here. Lock the door." Lyra shook her head. "It wants me, not you." "I don't care," Aaron said. "I'm not letting it take you." He stepped into the hallway. Moving slowly toward the cargo bay, the lights above flickered as he walked. The shadows long and moving, he opened the bay door quietly and stepped inside. his rifle aimed forward. The air was cold, the room silent. Then he heard a soft growl behind a stack of crates. The creature leaped out, fast and silent. Aaron fired the shock rifle, hitting it in the chest. Sparks flew, and the monster screamed. Falling back, but not for long. It stood again, angry and stronger than before. Aaron fired again, but the weapon was low on power. The monster lunged, knocking him to the floor. It raised its claw butt before it could strike. Lyra's voice echoed from the hallway. "Stop," she shouted, standing in the doorway, her hands glowing faintly. The creature turned, its red eyes locked on her. It hesitated. Growling low, confused, Lyra stepped forward slowly, her hand on her belly. "You don't want to hurt me, do you?" The monster blinked, its body shaking slightly. Then, to Aaron's shock, it lowered its claw. Lyra walked closer, her voice calm. "You were the first, the failed one, but this child is different." The monster made a soft sound, like a cry. Aaron stood up slowly, watching the strange connection between them. Lyra whispered, "You were made in pain, used and thrown away. I was too, but maybe we can end it here." The creature looked at her for a moment longer, then backed away slowly, disappearing into the shadows of the ship. Aaron stepped beside her, still holding the rifle. "What just happened?" Lyra looked at him with tired eyes. "It didn't attack me because it knows I carry something new, something better." Aaron frowned. "It lets you live, for now," she said. "But it's still dangerous." Aaron helped her back to the cabin. Locking the doors behind them, they sat together, silent. The hum of the ship returning to normal. Aaron looked at Lyra. "You're not just a victim." "No," she replied softly. "I'm the start of something else." Outside the window, the stars kept moving, and inside the ship, the future was growing alive, unknown, and waiting. The escape plan the ship was quiet, too quiet. Aaron sat in the control room, staring at the screen. Everything looked normal again, but he didn't trust it. The monster was still inside the ship, hiding in the dark. It hadn't attacked again since last night, but that didn't mean it was gone. He looked at Lyra through the glass window. She was resting in the medical pod, her hand on her belly, her eyes closed. Her breathing was slow but steady. Aaron knew time was running out. The child inside her was growing fast, too fast, and Earth was still one day away. He opened the emergency file on the control panel, marked E-Protocol, Containment. It was a last resort plan, meant for dangerous threats on board. Aaron hesitated. Reading the warning, use only if survival is at risk. He leaned back, rubbing his face. Everything had changed so quickly. A few days ago, he was just a technician. Now he was flying through space with a pregnant alien girl and a deadly creature hiding in the shadows. And somehow, he cared not just about survival, but about her, about the child, about what it all meant. Suddenly, the ship shook. Not a big shake, just a small one barely felt, but Aaron knew what it was. The creature had moved again. He locked the control room door and spoke into the ship's speaker. "Lyra, are you awake?" A moment later, her voice replied, weak but clear. "Yes, I'm listening." "We need to make a plan," he said. "It's still here, and it's not going to wait forever." Lyra slowly sat up, her face pale. "I feel it too." Aaron looked at the floor, thinking fast. "We can't fight it." "Not directly," he said, "but we can trap it." Lyra nodded slowly. "Where?" Aaron pulled up a map of the ship. "Cargo Bay 3, it's empty and sealed. I can flood it with gas and lock it down, but how do we get it inside?" she asked. Aaron looked into her eyes. "It follows you." She understood instantly, her face turning tense. "You want to use me as bait," she whispered. "I don't want to," Aaron said, "but it's the only way." Lyra stood up slowly, holding her belly. She looked stronger now, her eyes sharp. "I'll do it," she said. "But if this goes wrong, promise me something." "Anything," Aaron replied. "Save the child," she whispered, "even if I don't make it." Aaron's throat tightened, but he nodded. An hour later, the plan was ready. Lyra walked slowly through the hallway, her hands shaking slightly. Her footsteps echoed as she moved toward Cargo Bay 3. Behind her, the shadows moved. She didn't look back. The door to the bay opened with a hiss, and she stepped inside. Empty crates lined the walls, and the lights flickered above. Aaron watched everything from the control room. His hand over the lockdown button, the sensors showed movement, something entering the bay behind Lyra. The creature was here, it stepped into the light, tall and black, its eyes burning red. It looked at her, then at her belly. Lyra didn't run. She just stood there, whispering. "I'm not afraid of you," the monster growled, taking a slow step forward. Aaron's finger hovered over the button. "Closer," he whispered. "Just a little closer." The creature stepped fully into the room. And that's when Aaron pressed the button. The doors slammed shut with a loud bang. Thick gas filled the bay, hissing through the vents. The monster roared and thrashed, slamming into the walls. Lyra coughed and fell to her knees, but she stayed inside. Aaron shouted into the speaker, "Lyra, get out of there!" She crawled to the emergency hatch and pulled the handle. The small side door opened, and she rolled out gas, covering her back. Aaron ran to her, helping her up. "You did it," he said. "It's trapped." Lyra smiled weakly. Not for long, but long enough. They returned to the medical bay, locking every door behind them. Lyra collapsed onto the bed, sweating and pale. "It's coming," she whispered. "The baby. It's time." Aaron's eyes widened. "Now?" She nodded, crying softly. "Help me." Aaron grabbed the medkit and held her hand. The room filled with tension, pain, and something new life. Outside, the gas continued to fill Cargo Bay 3, and the monster grew silent. Maybe it was dying. Or maybe it was waning. But for now, there was hope inside the ship, in the cold quiet of space. A new future was being born. The final choice, Lyra screamed as the pain grew stronger. Aaron held her hand, his heart racing. Sweat covered her face, and her eyes were filled with both fear and strength. The child was coming, right here, right now. In the middle of space, Aaron had never delivered a baby before, let alone a hybrid child, but there was no time to panic. He followed the instructions on the med screen and did his best to help her. The ship was quiet, but both of them knew the danger wasn't over in the cargo bay. The monster was still locked behind steel and gas, its body silent, but its presence heavy in the air. Lyra cried out again, her body shaking. Then, with one final push, the baby was born. The room filled with silence. Aaron stared at the small creature in his hands. It looked almost human. Fingers, closed eyes, soft skin, but there were small marks on its back. Glowing faintly, its eyes opened slowly, and they were bright silver. Lyra reached out, touching the child gently, tears rolling down her cheeks. "My baby," she whispered. Smiling through the pain, Aaron wrapped the baby in a warm cloth and handed it to her. "He's alive," he said softly, "and he's beautiful." They sat in silence for a moment, watching the child move gently in her arms. But then a sound broke the peace. A deep, slow thud echoed through the ship. One more, then another. Aaron stood quickly, checking the security screen. The creature in the cargo bay was moving again. It had survived, and now it was trying to break free. Aaron turned to Lyra. "You need to rest. I'll deal with it." Lyra looked at him, her eyes filled with fear. "You can't fight it alone." "I won't," Aaron said, walking to the weapons locker. "I'll end this for all of us." As Aaron prepared to leave, the baby began to cry. But the cry was not like a normal cry. It was strange, sharp, clear, and echoing. Lyra looked down, confused. He's reacting to something. The baby's eyes glowed brighter, and suddenly a pulse of light spread through the room. The ship's lights flickered, and the computer screens blinked. Aaron froze. What was that? Lyra looked up. He's connected to the ship, to everything. Before they could speak more, a loud crash came from the back. The cargo door had cracked. The monster was almost free. Aaron ran down the hallway, holding the shock rifle tight. He reached the bay just as the last lock snapped. The metal door burst open, and the monster stepped out. Its body was burnt and bleeding, but it was still alive, still strong. It looked at Aaron with pure rage. Aaron aimed his weapon and fired, but the creature moved too fast. It knocked him to the floor and roared in his face. Just then, the baby cried. Again, louder, the sound traveled through the ship like a wave. The creature stopped, confused, its head turning toward the medroom. Its eyes dimmed and its claws lowered. Lyra stepped into the hallway, holding the baby in her arms. The child's eyes glowed bright silver. The monster looked at the baby, frozen. Lyra spoke softly. "He's part of you, but not like you." The creature stepped back, trembling. Aaron stood beside her. Bruised, but alive. Watching in shock, the baby raised a small hand, and another wave of light filled the ship. This time, it was warm, calm, peaceful. The monster let out a low sound, almost like a sigh, slowly dropped to its knees. It looked at the child one last time, then collapsed to the floor. Its body melted into ash. Soft and gray, it was over. The danger was gone. Aaron and Lyra stood in silence. The baby, now quiet in her arms, they had survived. But the world would never be the same. Later, as the ship approached Earth, Lyra looked out the window. Blue oceans and white clouds filled the screen. "It's beautiful," she said. Aaron nodded. "You'll like it there. But will they like me?" she asked, her voice soft. Aaron placed a hand on her shoulder. "They'll learn to understand, especially when they meet him." They looked at the baby, who was now sleeping peacefully. He was not a monster. He was not a mistake. He was something new, not just alien or human, but a future that could bring both worlds together. And in the silence of space, as Earth grew larger in the window, Aaron whispered, "We made it."